Welcome, everyone. Episode 27 of BlueTruth, New York Rangers Talk with myself, Brian Attard, powered by the Sportsbox Network. Thank you all for joining. Today is Thursday night, December the 1st. The Rangers are 24 games into this regular season, and well, it's not really going as planned. So we have obviously a lot to talk about tonight. Thank you all for watching. Make sure you share your comments, like, share. We always appreciate that. Always an interactive show if you're watching the live Facebook and Twitter feed. So be sure to share your thoughts in the comments section for sure. As I mentioned, tonight is December 1st. So the calendar is moving further and further through the regular season. And for our New York Rangers, it hasn't been that fun of a time. The New York Rangers snap a 3-game losing streak with a 3-1 win in Ottawa. That's Halak's first win of the year after starting 0-5-1. That wasn't a must-win game, but in many ways, it sure was a we'd really like to have this one. Ryan Lindgren, the Warrior, assisted on all 3 goals. With the win, the Rangers snapped their third winless streak of 3 games or more so far this season. They went winless in 4 in late October, 3 of which were at home. And then they had a 4-game winning streak. And then they had another 3-game winless streak, all at home, to start in November. And now you have this one here. Garden Ice has not been great for the Rangers. They've only won 4 of their 12 home games so far. They've actually fared quite better on the road. They've won 7 of 12 away from MSG. So through 24 games, the Rangers are a very pedestrian 11, 9, and 4. If you turn back the clock to last year, well, big difference. They were 17, 4, and 3 through 24 games. So there's a lot that's not going well for our Rangers. And again, I definitely want to hear all your thoughts, all your concerns. Let me know how you feel. Frankie, sir, how are you? Good to see you on the show tonight. The Rangers begin this month of December on the outside looking in as far as the playoffs. And I guess the question here is it too early for concern? Well, I don't think it's too early to be somewhat concerned. I wouldn't say there should be a high amount of concern. Coming into action tonight, I believe they're tied with the Pittsburgh Penguins, 26 points. I think that's good enough for the second wild card in the Eastern Conference. They're only 4 points behind the Islanders, second place in the division. So, they clearly have not had the optimal start to the season. This we know. But it's not as if they're a significant amount of points off of the pace of the teams that are ahead of them, with, perhaps the exception of, frankly, a very surprising New Jersey Devils team. I think if you're looking at the Devils at, the 38 points that they have and say, well, Brian, how are the Rangers going to make up 12 points? Well, again, I think that it is still December 1st, and I don't expect the Devils to win 13 games a month the rest of the season. So I think that gap, if the Rangers do what they're supposed to do, that gap should tighten as we move along. Do I think the Rangers are a playoff team? Yes, I do. I don't have any necessarily concern there. Am I as bullish on their ability to get to the finals, which was the take that I had? I'd be lying if I said that I was. Matt DeRosa, I think there would be less panic if the Devils and Isles didn't get off to their surprising start. Well, look, they're not that far, Matt, behind the Islanders. They're only 4 points behind the Islanders. So let's not get ahead of ourselves here. Excuse me. And, let the sky is falling. It is only December 1st. We're only 24 games into the season. Now, again, it can get late very quickly. I'm not saying that, but they are only, we'll talk about it, but there's no reason this team shouldn't be ahead of the Islanders in the standings, right? Really, it's the 2 games they lost to the Islanders that has been the difference. As bad as the Rangers have played, as pedestrian as they've been, they're absolutely still in the mix here. So I wouldn't push the panic button yet. But what I will tell you is that I am not as bullish on the team in what they can do in the postseason for, a number of reasons. And if you think back to the preview show that we did, if you happen to catch that for the season, we outlined the things that we needed to see from the Rangers. And frankly, what we thought the lineup was going to be, it's just very imbalanced. Bob Scatini, I have faith that they can and will turn this thing around, but need to start doing that now, like right now. Hopefully, Robert, last night was a good turn. Terry, my buddy out in Seattle or Washington, brother, how are you? Patrick Hoffman from my favorite row at MSG. There's a lot of hockey left. A lot can happen between now and April. Pat, friend of mine, we sit in the same section at MSG. Great guy. Really does a lot of great blog work, so check him out. We try to share the Ranger stuff when I see it there, but he's fantastic. So definitely check out his work there. I guess if you want me to be concerned about one thing, I will say this. For the last little while, it's been Jimmy Vesey playing top line right wing with Savannah Kreider. And let's just call it what it is, right? What Stanley Cup contender have you seen where a guy who came into training camp on a PTO is playing top line minutes in December? Seriously, right? Chris Fallon, yes, the Eagles show is on Mondays. This one's much more viewed, though, because it's hockey, and hockey's more important. We've seen Sammy Blais in the top 6 at times. We've seen Barclay Goodrow in the top 6 at times, and it's just not going to work. It's just not going to work. That is not the type of talent that you need in your top 6 if you are going to go toe-to-toe with some of the powerhouses, not just in the Eastern Conference, but in the league as well. Patrick, you're getting ahead of me, but we are going to talk about this a lot coming up, so hold that thought. We have many, many things to talk about in regards to your take there, so stay tuned there. The lineup is not balanced. The lineup is top-heavy, and then the problem when you have that top-heavy lineup is, frankly, how streaky your top players can be. So as we come into tonight, there's a 3-way tie at the top of the roster. Fox, Panarin, and Zibanejad will have 25 points. Kreider and Zibanejad lead the team with 11 goals. Now, prior to the goal that Panarin scored to open the Devils game the other night, he had as many goals in the month of November as I did. He has 2 goals since the Rangers lost 5-1 to the Columbus Blue Jackets on October 23rd. I don't think that the Rangers are built to be scaring anyone when your clear best offensive talent isn't scoring goals. But even from that standpoint, to be fair, this is the Panarin we saw last year too. He only had 1 goal in the month of October. He only had 2 goals in the month of January. Now, I came into the season bullish on Artemi Panarin after the playoffs last year, thinking he had bounced back. And I made the prediction he would set career highs in goals and points. Well, clearly, neither of those things are on pace right now. You start thinking back to Panarin's first year in New York when he scored 32 goals, and you just start to wonder where it is that this guy went. But that in and of itself, that situation with Panarin is exactly why this show has been preaching this idea that this window, whatever window the Rangers have to win, is not as long as any of us are willing to admit that it is. Panarin is 31 now, and his goal scoring has fallen rather significantly from the high we saw when he first came here. Kreider is actually on pace for 37 goals, right? So, I mean, I think we said before the show, before the season, he's probably not going to score 50 again, but he'll get in the 30s, maybe top out at 40. So, he's been streaky, but he's on pace to do that. He turns 32 in April. Mika Zibanejad, in year one of an 8-year deal, is turning 30 this year. So there is a crowd within the fan base, and Frankie's asking, will a trade for Patrick Kane improve us? Who would we have to give up? I think the second part of that question remains to be seen, but I think that section of our fan base, the anti-trade for Kane crowd, is basically some level of, oh, you have to let this team grow and give it 3 to 4 years. And I got to tell you guys, I don't understand that. In 3 years, we're going to have 3 core offensive guys in their mid-30s making over $26.5 million, combined with diminished skills because father time catches up to everyone. And it's already starting to show in the case of Artemi Panarin. We've been concerned about what sort of contract Alexis Lafreniere will sign and what sort of contract Keandre Miller will sign, both of which are RFAs after this season. But frankly, both of them this year have been average. The jump that we thought we would like to see in Lafreniere, and some of that might be where he is in the lineup. There's a lot of different talk about there, but, can the Rangers actually, cultivate talent? It's a fair question that I think at this point you got to really think about. But neither of them played to the level where now I'm overly concerned about what their next contract's going to be because they haven't really earned anything. I think there's a very strong possibility that Capo's not here after next season because his contract will be up and he'll go somewhere else where he can continually get significant time, power play time. Hedl probably isn't here after this season because the cap is what it is, and you've made a long-term commitment to Vincent Trocheck at your number 2 center. Now, Frankie, to your question, if they don't right this ship and get their asses in gear, there's not going to be concern about a Patrick Kane trade because he's just not going to want to come here. If this is the team, if this is who they are this year, then we're not getting Patrick Kane because there's no reason to. What I will say, though, is that the preach patience crowd, in my opinion, has just horribly misread this situation. Patience for what? Patience for who? What are you really going to do when these guys are 34, 35 and making this money? Like, you really need to get real. If you are in the crowd that says they need to just keep going and, hum along with whatever they're doing, I could not disagree with you more. And I don't know that this team can win a Stanley Cup this year. They clearly aren't playing like it. Are they capable of it? Maybe. But the idea that, these guys are untouchable and we can't move out ifs and maybes because we got to wait for them. They're not at that point. Too many long contracts. Rob Scatini, I like the lineup constructed last game. One of Kravtsov or Laffy to earn that VC spot. Otherwise, deadline should address that. I can see that too. And again, I'm not saying that they need to just give somebody that spot. I agree with you. It's a brass ring to go grab. But I don't know that these kids are being given the chances to do that, right? And when Gerard Gallant took this job, one of the famous things that he said in that opening Zoom call was that, you can't play young kids on the fourth line. You got to give them a shot. Well, we'll talk about that, but I don't necessarily know that that's actually materializing. Greg Romano, newish name to the show, or if I have not recall the name, if you're new, sir, but thank you for just give us a like on the page. You have to look at the big picture, what Drury knows and wants to do. Their top six needs an upgrade. Panarin isn't part of the long-term plan. They need to package something big to get a big return. Kane, Taves, or both. And they need one more defenseman for the first pair. Everyone except Igor and Fox are replaceable. They need another center to drop Trocheck to third, or even look to move him depending on what's offered. And doesn't want to make a decision on Laffy till he gets a real playmaking center. Right. The problem with that is Trocheck has a full no move for 3 years. He's not going anywhere. And I don't know, back to your long comment here about Panarin not being part of the plan. Well, I don't know when the plan in that case would be, because Panarin is signed. This is not an impending free agent. Panarin has 3 more seasons at $11.6 million. So, and he also has a no movement clause. So he's not going anywhere. So again, I said this coming into the year. I thought the Rangers have a 3-year window. That's 3 out of Panarin's 4 years. That's what the goalie signed for. So that's how I've read the situation. I will disagree with you where Panarin, I don't know what, I guess it depends what long-term means to you, because frankly, 5 years from now, I don't know what this team looks like. But I don't think they're a cup contender. I think like you need to make the best of it now, and they need to figure out what the hell's going wrong and why they're struggling, which we'll talk about next, because they got to figure that out. Curtis, I see your comment. That's coming up. That's coming up. We will talk about that. Thank you for the comment, sir. Please like the page. We appreciate that. So let's just talk about this here, because I think this is the $64,000 question. What exactly is going wrong for the Rangers? Why are they constantly blowing leads? And we'll talk about this, but it's not, there have been points in this season that are just absolutely maddening, but let's talk here. I think the answer as to why the Rangers are struggling is frankly quite simple. On the last show we did at the start of November, I noted that the Rangers' advanced stats all looked positive, and they generally still are. I am not going to preach the validity of advanced stats. They're not hard to understand, but here's what I will tell you. They are out shooting teams way more than in the past. They are actually 5th in the league at 5-on-5 shot attempts. For the most part, they're carrying play. Now, having said that, they are 16th in the NHL in goal scoring, 72 goals. They are exactly where they were last year. An average offense, the league average, actually. So, as odd as it sounds, they are generally playing at the same level or better than they were last year. The difference, as my friend Patrick Hoffman made note of a little while ago, they are not getting all-world goaltending this year. Igor Shesterkin's numbers have come down, point blank. His goals against average this year is 2.58. Last year, it was 2.07. His save percentage this year is 0.913. Last year, it was 0.935. His general numbers this year are much closer to what they were in the COVID year, when he went 16, 14, and 3 with a 916 save percentage and a 2.62 goals against. Now, I know what you're thinking. He's not getting any defensive help. Okay, sure. I don't necessarily disagree with that. But did he get defensive help last year? And I love that argument too. I love that they need to fix their defense. Okay, let's have that conversation. So, who are you getting rid of to fix their defense? Adam Fox? No. Ryan Lindgren? You'd sure prefer not to. Keandre Miller? No. Jacob Trouba? Yeah, okay. You can't get rid of Jacob Trouba. Not that you wouldn't want to. That's all I'm saying. Is you just can't. It's contractual and it's cap hit. Are we getting rid of Braden Schneider at that age, second-year player? No. So is a third pair left defenseman what ails this team, and that's going to fix everything, guys? Come on. The Rangers were outshot a lot last year, and we said it as it was happening. Igor was bailing them out a ton, and they were winning games that they were not supposed to win. And the tide has shifted hard the other way this year. And equally, let's just put this out there. Halak has been a massive disappointment, even if your expectations were low coming in. As we stand right now, Igor's played 17 games, 10-4-3. Halak, 1-5-1. He just beat Ottawa the other night. That's a problem. The blown leads are as frustrating as anything. But the difference really is that they're not getting bailed out anymore the way they were last year. You think back to the 2-0 lead they had against the Red Wings November 6th at home that they lost 3-2 in overtime. You think back to the 3-1 lead they had at home against the Islanders going into the third period, November the 8th at home, the very next game, a 4-3 loss. I was there. That was disgusting. You look at this past weekend, you have a 3-0 lead at the end of the second period against the Oilers, 11-26 at home, 4-3 loss. You have a 2-0 lead against the New Jersey Devils, November 28th at home, the very next game, 5-3 loss. You look at their losses, and their overtime losses, and you look at the ones that they deserved a different outcome, and they easily, and I mean easily, have left 6 to 8 points on the table this year, maybe more. And if you had those 6 to 8 points, you're in second place. So, to me, honestly, I firmly believe that the goaltending has just not been all world the way it was last year. And that, in many ways, that's what the difference has been. Now, is that Igor Shesterkin's fault? That's not what I'm saying. So please don't misconstrue. I am not blaming what is going on Igor Shesterkin, because without Igor Shesterkin, this team's really up shit's creek. But they didn't get better in front of him this offseason. And he now hasn't been Superman. And these are the results. Comments coming in. Xavier. To be honest, the true youngsters have not progressed to the point of becoming stars. Kakko's played the best overall game of the bunch, but the puck does just not want to go in the net for him. I agree. I think the yo-yoing of this lineup and moving these kids around and not giving them the opportunities and not really getting power play time, that has stunted their development. I think that's fair to say at this point. Because every other person that gets drafted high, mid, low, Trevor Zegras is doing great, Cole Caulfield's doing great. Is it just the Rangers' luck? You want to take that card? I'll go with it. But at some point, this team does not bring up young kids well. Fox learned how to play somewhere else. That's a serious problem. That's a long organizational, structural problem. They need to figure that out. Matt DeRosa, you might be right about Kakko. It's really tough to watch all these kids around the league. There you go. I didn't even see your comment, and we're preaching the same language. Getting ice time, power play time, scoring goals. Our kids don't have the chance to break the top 6, unfortunately. Well, you know what, Matt? That's where I have a problem. Now, I'm not saying that you're wrong because the team does that, but there is no reason why 2 right wings can't break the top 6. I do not need to be looking at Jimmy Vesey on the top line. I don't. Okay? That should be Lafreniere or Kakko. Almost to the point where just do it. What are you gaining? Jimmy Vesey was on a PT. He's not here next year, right? So, what are we really doing here? If you're not going to get production out of these kids, this whole thing's done anyway. They cannot be long-term contenders if those kids don't pan out. Everybody gets older and they're locked into money. So you need production out of the youth. Peter, shots don't mean. Here's where I'll disagree with you, Peter. It is a proxy for puck possession. And if you have the puck, the other team doesn't, and they can't score, and you can. If you are consistently outshot attempting the other team, you have the puck more than they do. That's a very you win a lot of games when that happens. Teams that control the puck tend to win games. It's not quite time possession in football, but it's in somewhat the same idea. Is only good things can happen when you have the puck. Only bad things can happen when your opponent has the puck. Which is why all those times we talked about how, the Rangers are out hitting the opponent. Yeah, that's cool. You know what that means? For you to hit someone, they had the puck and you don't. So, like, I understand, like, the results have not been the same, but they've actually played better this year. And I know that that's crazy to think about because the record's not there. The difference has been the goaltending. I'm not blaming Igor, but I have to be realistic here. It is what it is. Joe D'Angelo, how are the Devils winning? Well, they have been drafting high for a while. And they apparently know a little bit better on how to, get the most out of their kids. Heischer looks all right. Hughes is Hughes. I wanted Hughes. It didn't work out. Vanacek, I think, is playing out of his mind. And look, again, I do think they will cool off. This is not going to be, all year where they're just going to keep winning 12, 13 games a month. They're not that good. So they're riding high right now. That will teeter, in my opinion. Mario Consiglio, I think this is a new name. Welcome, sir. Please go ahead, follow BlueTruth, like the show. We appreciate that. The difference for me is last year they had Kopp, Vetrano, and Mott, who are better players than Carpenter, VC, and Blais, who are not good in my opinion. Okay, but here's also, look, I'm not going to disagree with you that those three are better than the other three. However, VC, Blais, and Carpenter, they think they cost about $3.5 million combined. Kopp's making $5 million in Detroit. Vetrano's making $4 million in Anaheim, and Tyler Mott's in Ottawa. That was probably a mistake, but it's a salary cap league, Mario. So it's not as if, what are they going to do? Right. So you would love, you would love to have capped Pavel Buchnevich, but it was a cap move. You had to move on. Of course you would have loved to bring back Andrew Kopp. And Vetrano fit nicely on this team, but you can only pay so much money. And when you have the money locked into the Kreiders and the Zibanejad and the Foxes and the Panaras and the Trubas of the world, you just can't, you can't have everything. So, this is a central point of mine, and I completely agree that you can't have VC on the number one line. It's embarrassing. It absolutely is embarrassing. And that's why I'm saying the lineup just needs to be more balanced. Is why, it just seems like we're playing pairs on the top six. You got Zibby and Kreider. You got Brett and Trocheck. I know they're moving things around a little bit. But that right side, which was supposed to be the strength of this team for a while, is just not there. That's where Lafreniere needs to be. That's where Kakko needs to be. Get your talented players in spots where they can show their talent. Or else why the hell are they here? Why am I seeing VC and Blais and Goodrow playing top 6 minutes? That's ridiculous. Ridiculous. I don't understand it. Nobody can make it make sense. Make it make sense. Mark Brown, what's up, brother? How are you? Can't have Blais on power play too. Absolutely not. That makes no sense either. Why? Is Sammy Blais one of the top 8 offensive forwards on this team? Please, God, don't tell me he is. No. Power play 2 needs more than 15 seconds. And that's a good point too, because power play 1's out there for, $1.40. Look, you can say, oh yeah, we're giving power play time to Kakko and Lafreniere. No, you're not. No, you're not, because your top unit sits out there, east-west, pass back and forth. And again, if we know what they're doing, the other team knows what they're doing. They're trying to set up the one-timer. It's not working. Find a new gag. At some point, and they rely on it, Mark. We know. They rely on the power play a lot. So it's not working on both sides. You have to find a solution. You just do. Robert Scatini. It's not that these players can't be better. This team can win. Sheshty can. But last year wasn't a fluke. A little confidence goes a long way. Well, Robert, that's the concern right now. That is the concern right now. Because again, let's be honest. Look, we're all realistic here, right? They were very good last year in very large part because of their goaltending. Because if the players are pretty much if the only variable is that they're letting in more goals, I mean, again, how many games last year, Robert? How many games last year? We talking about it, comments, everything. Shouldn't have won that game. Goaltender stole it. Goaltender stole it. If you're constantly going to rely on the goaltending to steal it, that's asking a lot. Power play's not that same this year either. The other thing that I'd just like to let me a couple more comments here. Mark Brown, Igor hid the problems last year. Yes. And that's the thing. And Mark, it's not as if we haven't seen this movie before. We all lived through the Henrik Lundqvist era of New York Rangers hockey. Same thing. I don't know how you fix that. I mean, the roster's pretty much set. Trouba is more of an issue than Igor. Guy needs to start doing captain shit. Okay, there was, not you, Robert. There was so many people that I've seen around the internet. Rangers need a captain. Rangers need a captain. Got to put the C on somebody. How's that working out? I have nothing against Jacob Trouba being the captain of this team. I just didn't think it was this big thing that had to happen. Everybody made it this big deal. Oh, you got to make sure you got. Do you? Do you really? Now, again, it's not like they rushed it, but I got to tell you, I mean, that incident where Draisaitl just throws Trouba's stick out of his hands, it's the captain of your team. I mean, that doesn't tell you where they are right now. That's the stuff that I look at. I'm like, it's the body language, right? It's the whatever, it's that I think is what would concern me a lot more than anything that they're playing. If you are watching the show tonight, go ahead and give us a like. I obviously appreciate that. That helps us break the algo. That helps us get the word of BlueTruth and all to all more and more Rangers fans. So obviously we appreciate that there. If you are watching on Facebook, give us a like. It's free. Appreciate it. Back to the comments that I may have missed. Peter, it is very clear Shesty's not making the big saves, but honestly, that's the last of this team's problems. This team is just not that good. You need two scoring right wings and the mean, nasty stay-at-home left defenseman. How are they going to fix it? Maybe you have to just roll the kids and hope they get better. I mean, this is the thing, right? Like, are we just going to keep doing this where we're just going to put VC on the right wing because? Like, what are the results on that? Is that working? Is that helping somebody? Why not? Like, why? Like, why does it just feel, and I said this in earlier in the year, like, why does it just feel like they're focusing on keeping their kid line together at the expense of their top two lines, which they've been kind of moving it around now? Put your best offensive players together in your top six. This is not hard. Peter, there is a difference in quality shots opposed to quantity. I'm not disputing that. What I am saying, though, is if I'm shooting the puck 60 times a game, how many times are you possibly shooting it? Which means you don't have the puck. You can't score on me. Even if all I'm doing is floating a shot into the goaltender's crest, that time frame is one where you aren't scoring on me. Robert said they tried Laffy there. He's a left winger. Making that switch to right wing isn't as easy as people want to think. Well, Robert, I got to tell you, then he's got to go because you can't get out of Panarin and you can't get out of Kreider. So I love Alexi Lafreniere. I have 3 Lafreniere jerseys, right? But if what you're saying is right, I'm not saying you're wrong. If what you're saying is right, he has no place here. He just doesn't. Would I have drafted him? Absolutely. No question about it. They had no choice. That was the pick. But both of those 2 years, wingers. Kako's a natural right wing. I don't know why Kako's not getting more time up top. I mean, again, big body, strong on the puck. Evan Marks, when are we getting Patrick Kane already? Well, I'll tell you what. If you were Patrick Kane, Evan, would you want to come to this team right now? Would you? Look, anything that's going to happen is going to end up happening at the deadline because of cap reasons. Again, moving Ryan Reeves was awesome. Someone you're going to fight me on that, and that's okay. That was great because you're just adding more cap space to your deadline cap. Wonderful. High marks. Love it. Mott should have been signed. Carpenter is a dud. So what I think happened with Tyler Mott, Peter, I think that he was looking for that $2.5 million, and the Rangers couldn't give it to him, and then nobody gave it to him, so he took less to go to Ottawa. Because I agree with you. I'd love that 1.5. Great. I have no problem with that. It wasn't in the cards. Carpenter is not, I'm not going to disagree with that either, but you play with the hand you're dealt. Absolutely. 4 games stand out to me. Oilers, Islanders, Red Wings, and Ducks. 7 points should have had. Movie totally different right now. That's hockey. No, I agree. Look, the Islanders game, I was there. That was miserable. It was miserable. The Oilers game, yup. The Red Wings game, yup. That's 5 points right there, right? You're ahead of the Islanders, and the Islanders would be 2 points. So you'd be 3 points clear of the Islanders if you beat the Oilers, beat the Red Wings, and beat the Islanders in the game. Those first 3 you have there. If you win those games, you are 3 points clear of the Islanders, and nobody's worried about this. So everything is in their control. They need to just stop this third period BS. Period. That's it. You need to play a 60-minute game. Not hard. Mark Brown, did you think Gallant lost the room already? Hold that thought. Coming up. Ray Lee, the Devils fan. Hey, listen, how's everyone doing? Not as good as you, bud. You're doing all right. So it's working out for you right now for the time being. We'll see how it ends up. Glenn, you're letting in soft goals. Not as many as Halak, but yes. That goal he let in against Anaheim when I the day before things they left Halak on the West Coast, I'd be thankful. Yeah. Cried, Zib, Kako, Bread, Tro, Kravtsov, Laffy, Heedle, Gautier, Blay, Goody. Do I love it? No, but that's all they have. Roll with it. I mean, actually, the funny thing about that is that really wasn't too far off of our preseason thought. I mean, basically, we had Lafreniere, Kako, Kravtsov. You have Kako, Kravtsov, Laffy on the other side, because I thought Blay would be that third line winger. Whatever. It's fine. I mean, I'm not opposed to that, Peter. I'm not opposed to that at all. Again, yeah. Mario. Play Kravtsov already. Not 2 games. Needs to play a top consistently. How's a kid going to learn if they don't like the kid trade him? Well, that's the other thing too, though, because you're going to trade him now? No, we'll talk. I have that coming up. Robert, again, the same thing about Kravtsov. Again, I agree. Kid's very talented, right? Mark says should have traded the pick. Montreal would have given him a boatload for first overall. Well, I don't know that they could have done that. Because I think at that point, you think you're getting a legit all-star player, like most number 1 picks are. It wasn't really depth that they needed. They still really don't. It is higher end talent. Woulda, coulda, shoulda. We keep talking about these third periods. We keep talking about how this keeps happening. It's like Groundhog's Day. Why are they sleepwalking through third periods constantly? Well, that's coaching. And the question has to be brought up. Is head coach Gerard Gallant's seat getting a little warm? Probably not, no. And I'll tell you why. So I don't get the vibe that Drury is one to knee-jerk, make a huge move like that 20 some odd games into the season, especially after getting to the third round last year. So I don't think that's in the cards, but let's be fair. Gerard Gallant has never completed 3 seasons in any of the stops he's been on. He was fired 15 games into year 3 when he was the coach in Columbus of the Blue Jackets. He was fired 22 games into year 3 when he was coach of the Florida Panthers. He was fired 49 games into the year 3 with the Vegas Golden Knights. He is 24 games into year 2 here. Now, I don't think that it's something that needs to happen. I think what is more likely than anything is a trade. But you look at your tradable commodities, and it's not like you get all warm and fuzzy about the idea of making a move. Nobody wants to trade Lafreniere. I agree. Now, I don't know what you do if you can't fit him on your roster. That's a problem, right? But we'll go together that nobody wants to trade Lafreniere. I agree. I mean, nobody wants to trade Capo Caco. He might go, though. I also don't think I don't think he's around at the end of next season. Just my personal belief. I don't know any more than anybody else. Kravtsov, you can't trade right now because, I mean, what's his value? He can't stay in a lineup. If you don't value your players, other teams are going to value your players either. So if this kid can't crack the lineup, I don't know why you think someone's going to give you, top dollar for him. Nobody is taking Barclay Goodrow's deal, clearly. You'd prefer not to trade a guy like Filipino. Contractually, you can't move Mika Zibanejad, you can't move Artemi Panarin, and you can't move Chris Kreider. So who's left? What is the shake up the team move? There is no Marian Gaborik to Columbus deal for this team, to where they got Brassard and John Moore and Derek Dorsett. There isn't one of them in the offing. So I think that they just kind of need to figure out what ails them. I think they need to position themselves as best as they can into February and March, and then try to make the best deal possible, likely for Patrick Kane, if they think that they have a legitimate shot to win it all. Am I suggesting right now that they do have a legit shot to win it all? I mean, look, they're not playing well enough to say that. They're not. You can't lose 3 to 4 games in a row 3 times before December 1st and have me thinking, oh, yeah, sure, you can go win a playoff series. 4 of them, by the way. They're not playing well enough right now. They're just not, but there is a lot of time left, which is why I kind of go back to, you can't rush into making a knee-jerk reaction just because. And I think that we would agree that that's not going to help. So you're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place, because the levers that you might want to pull, I just don't think are levers you want to pull. I don't think a roster shakeup trade is even possible with this roster without having a big mistake, like getting rid of a guy too young too quickly. I don't think you can fire the head coach, because I just don't think you do that 24 games after a conference finals appearance. So, I think they just got to stick to it and figure it out. I think you need to make your lines as best as you can and go with it. There is talent on that team. They are able to figure this out. And look, maybe they just peel off 4 or 5 in a row and nobody's talking about this anymore. Okay? I mean, again, you have very winnable games. The next 2 games at home, you just beat Ottawa. You got Chicago after them back to back. St. Louis is not lighting the world on fire. You got a bit of a short road trip. Then you come back, you get the Devils again. You have winnable games this month. So, just move along. It is what it is. A lot of, tell me if I'm wrong, right? A lot of what's wrong with them, they control that. How about you play a third period? How about you play a full game? I mean, yeah, your goalie might not be bailing you out the way he used to, but pick up your goaltender. He'll get there. He's got the talent to do it. So I think that the quick fix people are just they're not seeing the forest for the trees. You fire the coach and then what? I mean, you're gonna rush to do that? You're gonna dump a Kravtsov for what? I mean, that's the deal you're going to make later on because you have a salary cap that you just not allowing you to really do a whole lot until the deadline. You just need to right this ship, start getting, 7 out of every 10 points. Start moving along. Move in the right direction, and then you'll be all right. Tom Scavetta from my friends over at Review and Preview going to the game on Saturday, which would be against the Chicago Blackhawks. Rangers should win that game. Listen. There needs to be a lot of love for Patty at that game. None of this, we don't want you nonsense that we did with Rick Nash years ago, okay? We want to convince Patrick Kane that the only team he wants to go to is the New York Rangers. The only team he needs to tell Chicago, trade me there. That's the only place I'm going to go to, and don't ask them for much because I need the help. We want to put our arms around Patrick Kane on Saturday. He scores a goal, cheer him. I don't care. Mark Brown, they take high-end talent and make them third grinders. Yes. No, yes. That is a problem, yes. They don't allow these guys to flourish. And I think the people that are afraid of trading the Kakos, the Lafrenieres, and the Kravtsovs of the world to a different team is that they will flourish and will look idiots. Like idiots. And that I can see. But again, that is an organizational development problem that they need to address, or else there is no point in rebuilding. What did you build with? You got this wonderful gift of ping pong balls, and you are not maximizing your gift. Ray is familiar with third period meltdown, so now I feel your pain. Not lately for you, bud. Sure as hell not lately for you. Mario, play your best lineup. I believe we should be fine. Let's go. Garth Patrick, my sports box compadre. I know this is a Rangers pocket. My man Stamkos, 1,000 points tonight. Blew out the Flyers. Good. Flyers can eat a bag. Flyers can eat a bag. Matt DeRosa, you're right. It is concrete. Nothing to move. Have to ride it out. Matt, I think you're going to just see more and more of that because you have the no movement clause. Panarin, Zibanejad, Kreider, Trocheck, Trouba. Goodrow's got a modified no trade. I mean, sure. You know who else has a no movement clause? Yaroslav Halak. Figure that one out. Anyway. Mario, Laffy Cock need to step up, contribute, or the Rangers are in trouble, in my opinion. Yes. Of course. Because if you're not going to get things from what the things you got from those ping pong balls, it's going to be a problem. Absolutely. 100%. Robert's getting no shake up the team. A team that scores 2-3 goals in the first period need to give the full 60 effort. Yes. And the funny thing is, Robert, we know what we need to do. We talk about it in the locker room. Just fucking do it. I don't hear your nonsense. You went to the conference finals last year. Chris Kreider's talking in the offseason. Oh, the only part of my resume that's missing is the Stanley Cup. I'm going to do everything in my power to win one. What are you doing? What are you doing? Lead your team. You got to have a letter? You got to have the seat? No. We'd be 14-7-3 of the Windows 3. Yes. And then no one's talking about being behind the Islanders. And everybody just feels a little better. Noah Dibler, Sportsbox friend, Penguins fan, which, I don't hold against him. From the bits I've seen as an outsider, it's not so much a massive drop-off. They're playing similar to last year. The difference is Igor had a legendary season, got them so many games they should have lost if they won. It's not happening. Defense is bad. Igor's phenomenal, not invincible. Yes. That's pretty much what it is. I know you came in a little late, but I completely agree with your assessment. The problem is you can't fix the defense because 5 guys are locked in. The 6th one won't really matter. So, this is who you set your lot with. So you need to just do the best with what you have. Whatever deal they're going to make is not for a defenseman. It's going to be for offensive help because they have a massive gaping hole at right wing that they refuse to fill internally. Lou, when you have Jed Ortmeyer develop your young players, you see the outcome, you get what you deserve. Yes. Isn't like Tanner Glass somewhere in this front office right now? Sure. Hank, brother, Fast Relay, how's it going? Got to get you an extra ticket in the near future. You let me know. With enough advance notice, I can make the 2-hour trek. My next game is Monday the 12th against the Devils. I'll be there for that. That should be about as fun as a prostate exam, the way things are going right now. Peter, you can't include KK or Laffy any trade for a rental. Kravs or Jones, I'm okay with. I got to tell you something right now, Peter. In my honest opinion, in my heart of hearts, I do think Kakko's the one that goes for Kane. I do. I think that's what's going to end up happening. It might be Kakko in a 1, frankly. Right now, like if you said, "Hey Brian, what do you think that deal looks like?" I think it's Kakko in a 1, maybe even a third piece, frankly. So. John, great game by VC last night. Fits well on the third line. Well, John, I hate to tell you, we've been bashing VC on the first line for the good part of the past hour. So, he's not a first line player, John. I mean, look, can he do it in spurts? Sure, but this is not. I mean, you can't tell me you feel confident putting out a lineup with Jimmy VC in your top line. Like, you're not contending if that's. You're just not. It's Jimmy Vesey. Matt Villano, I want to see him play a full 60. Have they done that in any game? Yes. The first one against Tampa Bay. And I guess that 8-2 Detroit game wasn't bad. But yeah. I agree. Greg, unfortunately, might be the transition year I felt might happen. Hold that thought because I actually have some correlations I want to bring back to bring you back in history. Mark Brown, Tanner Glass, assistant player development. Cool. He scored about 3 goals his whole damn career, but he's developing our players. Awesome. Strong. Peter, no way I do that unless you guarantee a cup. Peter, Kakko's not going to be here after next year anyway. So, we got to understand this. Somebody's not going to get signed. It's probably him. Why would he? If you're Capo Kakko, why do you resign here? When you don't have to. We will see. Someone made the comment just now. I don't know about you, but I am getting these vibes that we are living the 2013 season all over again. Remember that the 2011-2012 New York Rangers came mostly out of nowhere. They won 51 games, top seed the Eastern Conference, lost the conference finals in 6 games. The next year, lockout shortened year, the team had expectations, didn't live up to those expectations. They got in the playoffs as the 6th in the Eastern Conference. They won a round against Washington, and then they lost in the second round to Boston. And then John Tortorella was fired. And then the next year, things turned differently. Went to the Cup Finals the year after. So I'm not saying that because I think that Gerard Gallant's getting fired after a short playoff run this year, but I get this deja vu, like it's history repeating itself after a great, somewhat out of the blue year last year. And then you have this downish year, which we might be in right now, before making that run like they did the next 2 years in 2014, 2015, which really would line up with my expectations for this window, which is 2024 and 2025. It's just something to think about. It's kind of weird how again, you have the surprise year, the bounce down year, and then the run year. Like maybe we're in the Twilight Zone. Maybe we're in that second. I think it was Greg Romano said that transition year. I like the way you put that, Greg. I think that again, I just get those vibes that it feels like 2013 all over again. Closing thoughts on tonight's show. Look, I'm as annoyed with them as anyone right now. Look, I'm known to say, and I do believe it's true, the regular season really doesn't mean that much at all. You're not going to judge this team by what they do in November and December and January and February. It is all about the postseason. If they lose in round 2, yeah, shitty year. If they don't make it in at all, even worse, but at least you got a high pick out of it. It's not about these games for this team. It's about, can you be playing well enough when you need to be playing well enough in April and May? So if I could give any advice to you people, and you guys are awesome, by the way, don't get too low or high, frankly, because I think low is obviously what would it be right now. I think the Devils will cool off. They might be a good team. They might be way better than anybody else thought, but I think they're going to cool off, just law of averages. I think the Islanders have been a farce for the better part of a decade, and I know they made a couple conference finals runs, which was smoke and mirrors and COVID years and everything else. I think Carolina's very good, and I think the Rangers will make the playoffs. Now, admittedly, I don't have a lot of confidence at the moment that they would do much once they got there, but let's be honest, if we turn the clock back, how confident were we down 3-1 to Pittsburgh until they woke up? So all's not lost, not yet. If we're in mid-January, February, they're still treading water like this, maybe we have a bit of a different conversation. Right now, it might not be great, but it's also not April. So, you know, Ray Leo, Rangers make a run at Tarasenko. No money. Unless the Blues want to eat half. Cap's cap, bro. I mean, they can't, they can't extend it. Hank, I can see it. A lot of expectations that year. Coach's job was on the line, ultimately can, and they had to struggle to get to the playoffs. Right, though? I see a lot of I can draw those lines back, right? And then that team made that big Gaborik trade. So you kind of, that was the year Gaborik and Nash were together. Didn't work out very well. Should have. Robert, 5-game winning streak. Ask yourself if you think that's impossible. Well, yeah. I mean, look. They could win 5 games right now. They got Ottawa tomorrow night, winnable game. They got Chicago Saturday, winnable game. They got the Blues, winnable game. They go to Vegas. Vegas is very good. So they go to Colorado. That's a proctologist exam. That ain't going to end well. Then the Devil. Really. All right. So between Wednesday, December 7th and Thursday, December 15th, you got games against Vegas, Colorado, New Jersey, and Toronto. That is not going to be fun. Oh, boy. Okay. Greg Romano. 2013, or is it the 92-93 crash all over again? We all know what followed. Greg, that's a really good point, right? 93, 2013, 2023. These 3 years stink. Unless it was 1933 where they won the Stanley Cup. But since then, stink, right? So maybe, and 2003 I'm sure was a disaster, right? Because they were even a playoff team back then. Maybe there's something to these 2-3 years. The 92-93, 12-13, 22-23. Be a hell of a story. So that's all I have for you tonight. Thank all of you who watch the show. I appreciate you taking the time to talk Rangers hockey with me. It is a privilege to have the time with you. I can't tell you how much fun this is, even when the team sometimes pisses you off. At least we have each other to, cry on each other's shoulders, I guess, or lament things that are going on. But again, if you're watching the show live, right on the Facebook show, thank you for watching. Like, follow, share, subscribe. If you're watching the YouTube replay, I always post a replay of the show to YouTube for people that aren't on social or on the live Facebook. If you're watching the YouTube replay, check us out on Facebook and Twitter. You might want to give us a follow. But other than that, that is all I have for the evening. I will keep you all abreast as to when the next show will be. With the holidays and all, it's sometimes a little bit tough, but it's been too long since we had it. I didn't intend to wait a month, but then life's happened and they could never really get on a bit of a roll to have something fun to talk about. So you know what? Okay, they lost a bunch of games in a row. Let's get mad about that and talk about it. So Robert, keep the Faith Garden faithful. I agree. If any of you are going to be in the building Monday, December 12th, I sit in section 115, row 22, seats 9 and 10. Come say hello. I love meeting all you fine folks. On behalf of the BlueTruth show, thank you for watching. I hope that the next time we all see each other, we have many more good things to talk about. Let's go, Rangers. Take care.